Welcome, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. We're starting today with what is on the minds of anyone following American politics and lots of people who haven't been following politics but are about to start. This week, we have the first of what are to be two scheduled presidential debates. And what has come sort of to the forefront of these debates is not questions as to which candidate will come forward with some new policy or where will the tax rates desired by each candidate conflict versus overlap. No. It is overwhelmingly becoming a referendum, essentially on cognitive decline. Now, that aside for a second, Donald Trump has admitted to the disgusting and lurid plan he has for how to attack President Joe Biden at this week's presidential debate. His plan is to highlight individual murders allegedly committed by undocumented immigrants or migrants. Trump has already started this narrative on his Truth Social feed, where he said, quote, "We have a new Biden migrant killing. It's only going to get worse. And it's all crooked Joe Biden's fault. He's a disgrace to the office of president. He's a disgrace to America. I look forward to seeing him at the fake debate on Thursday. Let him explain why he has allowed millions of people to come into our country illegally." So very clearly what Trump plans to do is to bring up specific cases and say, Joe, you did that. You're responsible for that. Now, the reality, as many of you might suspect, is that this line of attack is misleading. It's not supported by statistics. And in some cases, even the specific incidents that Trump has become obsessed with aren't clearly even related to President Joe Biden. And some are actually Trump's responsibility. I'll explain that in a moment. In general, I think it's important to remember that documented immigrants and undocumented immigrants commit crimes of all kinds at lower rates than native-born Americans. It kind of makes sense. If you have become naturalized in the U.S., or if you know you're here illegally, you feel to a different degree as though you maybe have to be on better behavior in a sense. Because if you are undocumented, you don't want law enforcement attention. And if you are a naturalized immigrant, you might still feel to some degree like I need to be on better behavior because they might be able to take it away from me, even if that's not true. So it actually makes a lot of sense that natural born citizens in the United States commit crimes at higher rates. But the important thing is to understand the MAGA message. The Trump MAGA message is that undocumented immigrants should be presumed violent and dangerous simply because they are in the United States undocumented. And the way that Trump and MAGA try to convince people of that is they use these specific cases, lurid examples, to generalize and to demonize all undocumented immigrants when, of course, the overwhelming vast majority are just here working, often in conditions that are not nearly as good as the working conditions for native-born American citizens. Trump and MAGA use specific cases to try to make bigger points that don't follow the data. And if we put aside for a second that there were murders done by undocumented immigrants while Trump was president, every president, right, including Trump, even some of the specific cases that Donald Trump likes to talk about and will probably talk about during the debate on Thursday are either lacking context or straight up deceptively recounted in order to be able to blame Joe Biden. So there's one example, Rachel Morin. Rachel Morin, young mother who was horrifically murdered in Maryland, allegedly by a migrant from El Salvador. Trump highlighted her at a recent rally. Now, the important thing to understand is because it sounds like open and shut. Oh, my God, it's Biden's fault. One way or another, the buck stops with Biden. It's Biden's fault. The alleged killer in that case is a repeat border crosser. A repeat border crosser like that isn't remotely like the folks that are eligible for a path to citizenship under Joe Biden's new plan, for example, as it relates to spouses. It just has nothing to do with what Joe Biden is doing. And the particular migrant involved in that case had been repeatedly kicked out under the Title 42 COVID-related health rule first instituted under President Trump, and which Biden temporarily kept until he got rid of it. So understand that Trump's making that case an example of how terrible Biden is. It's under the policy that Trump implemented that the guy got away to begin with. But they're not going to tell you that. They're just going to blame Joe Biden. And a ton of these stories similarly are complicated. Sometimes Trump at his rallies will talk about an undocumented migrant who was just convicted for doing something. Sometimes the thing the migrant was convicted for was actually done when Trump was still president. This is less common now, but at the beginning of Biden's presidency, Trump would go out and say, look at this case where we just convicted such and such. The crime that they were convicted of took place while Donald Trump was president of the United States. So if I were Joe Biden, I would come in ready with something like the stories that Donald is telling. Any story of violence and death is a tragedy. And our goal as a country should be to have no stories like that. But Donald is lying to you, as he always does. Crime was going up under Trump. It's now down. And some of the people that he is talking to you about actually came into the United States when he was president of the United States. Something along those lines. I'm not a debate prep expert. I'm just giving you my instinct. I would have something like that ready because Trump is going low. He's going very, very low, and Biden needs to be prepared. So many of us are busy. We may not always have time to nutritionally plan out every meal and make sure we're getting the exact amount of this mineral or that vitamin. And that's why I like AG1. Our sponsor, AG1, is the daily scoop you mix into water or your smoothie to get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and nutrients from only whole food sources. Just a single scoop covers me nutritionally for the whole day. AG1 is just simpler and faster and more cost-effective, by the way, than fumbling with a dozen different vitamin pills and products. AG1 can support all sorts of different functions, and it promotes diversity in your microbiome. In a research study, AG1 was shown to even double the healthy bacteria in your gut. Staying healthy is just about habits that are sustainable. They have to be sustainable, which is why I've been using AG1 in the morning for years now. It's just easy to stick to. Start your own journey with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, plus 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription order at drinkag1.com/Pacman. The link is in the description.